Welcome back to another episode of Hub's Huddle. Today is Saturday, October 27th, 2018. Today we're going to talk a little boxing. Got HBO boxing tonight, which I thought this was going to be the last fight, but it's not. They have another one on November 24th. And also I'll get into my week 8 remaining picks for the week. So let's kick this off with boxing, man. Tonight we got Danny Jacobs, versus Sergiy Derevyanchenko. Hope I said his name right, for the vacant IBF middleweight title. My prediction for this one, man, I like Danny Jacobs, man. I felt like that he did beat Triple G last year. I like him in this one. I think a unanimous decision in round 12. Derevyanchenko, hope I said his name right again. He's coming in 12-0, but these two guys, man, they train together. They got the same trainer, so they know each other pretty well. I think it's gonna make a great fight tonight. I thought this was gonna be the last HBO fight, but it's not. The last fight, I believe it's gonna be November 24th. But in light of that, everybody know HBO has been pretty much struggling as of late, with the fight game. They haven't, they don't have the big marquee fighters. I mean, you got they had Canelo and, Triple G, but, a lot of guys, they're either, Showtime, they're, ESPN, like Bud Crawford's, it's ESPN, man. Showtime has, of course, he's retired now, but Floyd Mayweather, they got the Charlos, you got Adrian Broner over there. It's a lot, of talent. You got Spence, Keith Thurman, Sean Porter, Danny Garcia. All these guys also fight under the PBC banner as well. It's just, the better fights are not on HBO. And this is one of the main reasons why, HBO is basically done. They're calling it quits on the fight game at the end of the year. And, all these guys, I want to know where, Danny Jacobs going to go. Is he going to go to Showtime? It is some nice fights over there for him in the middleweight division. Or will he go to the Zone app, following the steps of Canelo Alvarez and Anthony Joshua, who's already fighting on this app? As you know, a couple of weeks ago, Canelo Alvarez signed a major deal with these guys for, I think it's 11 fights, if I'm not mistaken. So all his fights will be on the app instead of being on pay-per-view, which is cool. I mean, the app's only $9.99 a month. Instead of paying, $65 to $70, for a pay-per-view fight. So, but HBO, it had its run. I mean, the 80s, the peak in the 90s. You had your legend, the great fights. You had Mike Tyson. You had, guys like Holyfield versus Riddick Bowe. You had Holyfield versus Foreman. You had, the Floyd Mayweather, Oscar De La Hoya, Mayweather Cotto. It's been a lot of great fights. You had Bernard Hopkins versus Tito Trinidad, which basically was his coming out party. Remember that when he basically dominated the whole fight. He outlanded Tito in every round. You also had Tito versus Oscar De La Hoya, which happened to be his coming out fight. You had Mosley versus De La Hoya. You had Shane Mosley versus Vernon Forrest. You had a lot of fights, man. Just to name a few. Some of my favorite fights, like I said, was Bernard Hopkins versus Tito Trinidad. That was huge. That was 18 days after 9/11. About 3 miles away from Ground Zero. Basically was Bernard Hopkins, his basically his coming out. His coming out party. This was, he was already the middleweight champion for a long time, but this was the fight that he needed, to cement, his legacy. And we all know how, after that fight, everything skyrocketed for B-Hop. You know what I mean? He fought Tarver and became the light heavyweight champion. He fought Kelly Pavlik. Fights like that he took on. He got his rematch against Roy Jones, even though that was kind of it was kind of joke. But, I mean, that was his rematch against him. You know, very controversial in my opinion against Joe Kawasaki. You know, that loss, and then he, you know, basically, you know, had the 2 fights with Jermaine Taylor. But Bernard Hopkins has done a lot in the boxing game. You know, as far as like in towards like his later years in his career, you know, he really defined, you know, time. You know, but you know, fighters like that, like Oscar De La Hoya, you know, HBO, you know, the cash cow, you know, everybody wanted the big fight with Oscar. You know, you get the big fights with Oscar, and then that turned into, you know, to get the big fights with Floyd, and Floyd became, you know, the cash cow for HBO. You know, he made them money, and it kind of seemed like that once like Floyd left for like Showtime, like this is when it started to go down. You know, you started seeing like more fighters going to Showtime and fighting on Showtime. And, you know, like Showtime had the bigger events. You know, like every May when Mayweather was fighting, it was like, okay, we know Floyd going to fight in May, and this is going to be the big, you know, the big grossing fight, you know, the entire year. You know, everybody wants to fight, wants to watch Floyd fight. And, you know, you either are a fan of Floyd or you dislike Floyd, so you're going to pay for it just so you can, you know, see him, you know, possibly take a loss, which he never did. But, you know, like this dude, you know, he puts on a show, you know, like you can't take that away from that man, you know. But HBO, like I said, with Tyson, you know, Tyson versus Holmes and you know, Tyson versus Michael Spinks, stuff like that. And funny story about Michael Spinks. I met him. I was young. I was like a child. I was in it was like a health food store. I'm in up in Delaware. Me and my dad was in the store, and my dad saw him, and he looked at me and he asked me if I knew who he was. And I said, no, I don't know who this guy is. You know, I mean, I ain't know. So he walked over to him and he asked him, he said, excuse me, you tell my son who you are. So basically he had a ring on his finger, and I think it was either, I don't know if it was a Hall of Fame ring or maybe it was just like him being a champion. I think it was him being like a champion ring. He had like a ring made because he was a champion. So he showed me his ring, and then he basically was like, you know, I'm Michael Spinks. And once he said Michael Spinks, it kind of rang a bell in my head, because I was like, when he walked away, I looked up at that, I said, ain't this dude that got knocked out by Mike Tyson? You know what I mean? It's just, you know, it's crazy. But, you know, just like, you know, I met Bernard Hopkins, you know, recently, just like a year ago. I met him at the Christiana Mall. Pretty, you know, down to earth. You know, he was there with his family, didn't want to be too, you know, one of them crazy fans show up and be, you know, just talking. You know, I called him, you know, I said, what's up, legend? You know, he turned around, you know, gave me some dap. You know, hey, you know, that's what's up. But, you know, I ain't want to bother me. You always see Bernard around in this area anyway, when he's not promoting with Golden Boy. But it was pretty cool, you know. But HBO, you know, it's been a heck of a run, you know, and I know their last fight, believe it should be, you know, next month, on the 24th. But speaking on this fight, you know, like tonight, you got Danny Jacobs. I think it's probably gonna be the best fight, you know, to end off with, you know, HBO going down. Ever since, you know, of course you had Golovkin versus Canelo. You know, that was probably gonna be like the fight of the year for them. But this is, you know, winding down, man. It's just like, you know, had a nice, you know, long, you know, ride, you know, with HBO. You know, a lot of us grew up watching HBO Sports, you know, with your Roy Jones versus James Toney, and Roy versus Montel Griffin. We even seen Roy, you know, faces what's his name, John Ruiz, when he beat him for the heavyweight title. You know, guys like that, you know, that like, you know, built, you know, help, you know, continue to build HBO. You know, so on the backs of those guys in the 80s, like your Hagler Hearns, you know, and it was like the 8 minutes of hell, or whatever it was called, something like that, where they just went to war and it was over. You know, just like Prince Nassim Hamed versus Kevin Kelly. Remember that one? The first 4 rounds was like, you know, you saw 6 knockdowns, and it was like three knockdowns each. That was a heck of a fight. You know, you had Hagler and Leonard, you know, stuff like that. It's just, you know, HBO has put on some great, you know, fights for us over the years. It's just that as of late, a lot of fighters, they're fighting on different networks, and different networks are putting together, the better fights. So, this was happens to be the downfall of, HBO, especially like with apps as an with the ESPN Plus app, which is I believe it's $5. They got you got Bud Crawford over there and a couple other guys. You had Pacquiao, but I think since Pacquiao signed with Al Heyman, he's probably gonna be coming to PBC now, PBC/Showtime. So like he has a fight coming up with Broner in January, which I think is gonna be a great fight as well. See, it's stuff like that where you look at HBO and they don't have that. They don't have that. You ain't got the Charlo brothers over there. They over here on Showtime. It's a bunch of good fighters on these other networks that it puts HBO down. Like HBO, like your top dog was Canelo, and now Canelo signed with the Zone. People, and now he's not on HBO anymore. So but that's it, man. That's it for boxing. It's been a great run for HBO, but hope you guys check out that fight tonight. Like I said, I like Danny Jacobs in 12 rounds, unanimous decision. It's gonna be a great fight. I think these two guys, they spar each other, they know each other, so it makes for a great fight. Next up, let's take a look at the NFL, man. As you know, last week I finished 11-3, pat myself on the back. 2 weeks back to back with only 3 losses. It's pretty good. Let's see if we can get that thing down a little bit. Overall in the season, I am 66-39-2. So the kickoff week, the remaining games of week 8, of course, Thursday night, the Texans put the beat down on the Dolphins, 42-23. So we start with tomorrow morning's matchup. We got 9:30 a.m. East Coast time game over in Wembley Stadium. Philadelphia Eagles versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now this one, man, so middle of the week I was leaning towards the Jags because, I didn't like the comments from Malcolm Jenkins basically saying, like he watched the film on Bortles and he felt like Kaepernick should still have a job, which implying that Bortles is a bum. So, I mean, but I didn't like, Kaepernick does deserve to still be playing because he is better than a lot of quarterbacks in the league. But for him to just openly just say that, especially on, coming up on their game, I was like, man, Bortles gonna have a career day against these jokers now. But just so happens that either last night or today, 4 Jaguars players were arrested. I don't think they were detained. I'm not sure. I think they were let go. But, something in like a nightclub over there in London. So I don't know. Both of these teams are 3-4. They're looking to try to stay in the playoff hopes. Been so far a disappointing season for both of these teams. I mean, they still got a lot of time to turn it around, but it's so difficult. Jags are looking up at the Texans in their division. The Eagles are looking up at the Redskins in their division. And, the Texans already got their win on Thursday, which is, keep stretching out the gap, and, the Redskins got to match up with the Giants on Sunday. So, that's a very winnable game for, the Redskins, even though I know it is a divisional game, but also another divisional game where, they beat the Cowboys last week and turn around and get the Giants, this week. They can go up, an extra game in the division. So they'll be up two games in the division. Philly already beat, the Giants. They still got the Cowboys twice and they still got the Redskins twice. So, this right here is a huge game for both of these teams. So it's whoever gonna win it more. My opinion, I like Philly in this one. I think it's 23-13 over the Jaguars. I know Jaguars got the most experience playing in London over the two teams. But, it's a lot of Philly fans traveling to London. So it's going to feel like a home game for these guys tomorrow. So that's why I like the Eagles 23-13. Next up, you got the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Broncos. This one's an Arrowhead. I like the Chiefs. I know, a couple weeks ago they played on Monday Night Football, and it was a great game. The Chiefs came back and won. I think this one, the Chiefs going to look more dominant. They do have their defense is still a little bit suspect. But, the Broncos, if they would like to run the ball, they could very well keep it close again to keep Mahomes off the field. But my opinion, I think, the Chiefs are rolling still. They had the bump in the road in New England. They had that first loss of the year in New England, but they bounced back well. And I like the Chiefs, man. I like them 30-17 in the rematch against the Broncos this year. Final game between these two teams in that division for this year. Next up, we got another rematch from week 1, actually. The Cleveland Browns traveling to Pittsburgh, take on the Steelers. And this is the one that ended in a tie, man. Remember that one where we all thought that the Browns should have won, man, but, it ended in a tie. This one I just think it's going to be a different story. The Steelers seems to be getting their act together. They seem like, they're coming back around to being the Steelers. Still no Le'Veon Bell. Who knows when this guy's coming back. But you got James Conner. Keep giving that guy the ball. It opens up the passing game for Juju's having a great quiet season so far. And also Antonio Brown is still there. So, still a game changer, man. You still got Big Ben. Browns, they still got a good defense. I still like them. They're running attack, with Chubb. They traded away Carlos Hyde to get these other guys into the mix. I like their run game. The very young squad. Baker Mayfield, that's the difference from then and now is Baker Mayfield. So maybe that might be the key difference. I don't know, man, but I think it's going to be a close game. And then they're going to put up some points. Like I said, Steelers defense still ain't, still pretty suspect as well, too. They need some help in the secondary. But, I like the Steelers in this one. The home crowd, I give them a 34-31, victory over the Browns. Next up, NFC East divisional matchup. You got the Washington Redskins traveling to East Rutherford to take on the New York Football Giants. This one, Giants, man, they're in the middle of like a fire sale. They traded Snacks to the Lions for a 5th rounder. And they traded Eli Apple as well to the Saints. So, I don't know if they're like throwing in the flag, but I know they are looking towards the rebuild and dumping off some salary to open up the the cap a little bit. But Redskins was rolling, man. They had a huge win in Dallas, which I think they should have lost that game. I just think it was just bad play calling towards the end of that one, and then with the field goal, he shanks it. And the Redskins win. But, like I said, man, the Redskins are rolling, man, and they're looking to, putting that gap between them and everybody else in that division, especially Philly. I like the Redskins in this one, man. I think, AP gonna run wild. It's another matchup between him and another young gun in the NFC East. Last week he had Zeke. And it looked like, AP was running with some authority, man. And this week he's going to have Saquon Barkley look over at on the other side, man. I think, old AP, man, he going to have something to prove tomorrow. So I like the Redskins, man. I like them 20-13 over the Giants. Next up, got Seattle Seahawks versus the Detroit Lions. Now, both of these teams have resurgent run game now. So, this is going to be a good game as well. The Giants, the Lions, they got Snacks Harrison from, the Giants. So I would like to see, if he's going to play tomorrow, what impact he's going to have on that run game. The Seahawks, Russell Wilson, the defense still a little banged up. My prediction for this one, I like the Lions, man. I like them 28-24. Next up, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers traveling to Cincy to take on the Bengals. This one was extremely hard for me to pick. So, we got the Buccaneers, they got the number 1 total offense. You got these guys going up against the 31st ranked pass defense, the 31st ranked defense in the Bengals. This right here, man. Wow. This was it was tough because this was in Tampa. I picked the Buccaneers,
if this one was, like they're playing in Cincy, so it got me leaning towards, the Bengals in this one. I think they're both gonna put up some points. Like I said, that Bengals defense isn't really that good. You know what? On the fly, because I had the Bengals marked down, I'm gonna roll with the Buccaneers in this one. I'm gonna roll with the Buccaneers. I think that offense. Jameis Winston gonna get these guys in order with these receivers, with Deshaun Jackson, Mike Evans. These guys, man, listen. I like Tampa Bay tomorrow, 34-31. Tampa Bay over the Bengals. Next up, we got the Jets traveling to Chicago, taking on the Bears. Now, this one's, the Bears defense is crazy. I think Khalil Mack and co. is going to give Darnold some fits. Mitchell Trubisky, he had a good showing last week against New England. I think, it's going to carry over this week right here. Look for that run game, to be rolling with Howard and Cohen. Look out for Robinson in the pass game, with Burton. Burton's becoming, he's a pretty good tight end over there in Chicago. This dude, he's performing well. But the Jets, man, I don't know. I mean, like Darnold, he's a pretty good quarterback, rookie. But I just think, this defense of Chicago is going to be a little bit too much overwhelming for them. So I like the Bears in this one, 27-13. Next up, we got the number one defense in the Baltimore Ravens traveling to Carolina to take on Cam Newton and the Panthers. Now, Cam and company, they're coming off a big win in Philly. Philly blew that 17-point lead in the fourth quarter, allowed these guys to come back. All that does really is boosts up the confidence for Carolina. But the Ravens, on the other hand, man, this is a scrappy team, man, and they play well on the road. It's just, for this one, like I've been saying for the past 2 weeks, I can't really trust Cam Newton. It's like 1 week you'll see MVP Cam. Following week you'll see what the heck Cam. Like last week in that fourth quarter, you seen MVP Cam making MVP type plays, man. Like, I wanna pick the Panthers so bad in this one that they playing at home, keep pounding, all of that. But I can't trust Cam Newton on a week-to-week basis, man. I can't trust him tomorrow, but the next week I can trust him again. That's just the way I see his game so far. So I like the Ravens in this one, 24-20. Next up, we got the Colts traveling to Oakland to take on the Raiders. Now, this right here, man, the Raiders, they ain't been 1-5. They have been 1-5 for the second time under John Gruden, which I think is overrated, overpaid. But you got the Colts coming in. I think, man, the home crowd in Oakland, I say it gets kind of funny down there. Man, this is hard to pick too. Like, I like, the Colts and what they're doing so far, but I like the Raiders based off of, basically home field. And since now we're saying that they're 1-5 for the second time underneath John Gruden, they're going to have to get a win tomorrow. So I like them 30-27. Next up, we got the 49ers traveling to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. Cardinals has won 7 straight against the 49ers. I think it changes tomorrow. I just don't think the Cardinals are really that good. They got pounded last week against Denver. I think it's going to be more of the same this week. I don't think it's going to be a complete blowout. I think it's going to be a close game, but, I'm not sleeping on the 49ers. They have a good run game. The backup quarterback's not that bad as well. And also, just the tight end, they're pretty good with George Kittle and, with Goodwin over there. These guys are going to be cool, man. I like the 49ers 23-20. Next up, got a big one on Fox, man. You got Aaron Rodgers and the Packers traveling to LA to take on the Rams. This is gonna be a good game, man. It's the first Cal QB's matchup in NFL since 1983. This right here, it's gonna be a lot of points. Packers defense ain't worth nothing. But, Aaron Rodgers still going to pull something together to work against, the Rams defense. I'm looking like a shootout, but I'm taking the Rams. I just don't think the Packers got enough, to basically to outlast the Rams in this one. It's more of a 38-34 game. I like the Rams. Next up, got our Sunday night matchup between, it's the rematch of the divisional round last year in the playoffs, man. The rematch of the the Minnesota Miracle. Sunday Night Football. This one, this is going to be still tough too. It's going to be a great game. I think, probably might be the best game of the weekend if the Rams and the Packers don't live up to the hype. But this right here, man, you got Drew Brees, Kirk Cousins, two guys that like throw the ball around. So we're going to get some points. But I think the defense is going to tell the tale here. Emerson Griffin, he's finally back with the Vikings. Not sure if he's going to play tomorrow. Who knows? That might still be up in the air. But, from my prediction, I'm giving the home field. And I know, the Saints want to come in and win because of what happened last year. But I don't think it happens. I think Minnesota's defense is going to be enough, to take care of business. And also, Kirk Cousins going to, perhaps the best wide receiver in the league right now, Adam Thielen. Check the numbers, check the stats. That kid bad. You still got Stephon Diggs over there. They still got Kyle Rudolph. You still got, something in the run game. Even though the Saints, you got Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram and Michael Thomas. This is, if you like offense, this is going to be a good game. But I think it's going to be like a play made by, the defense, which is going to win this game. But I'm picking a 28-24 type of game. I like the Vikings in this one. The last game of the week, Monday night matchup. New England traveling to Buffalo to take on the Bills. Tom Brady is, wait a minute, because here come the troll moment. Tom Brady is 28-3 over the Bills in his own career. So his record is 28-3. And if you know 28-3, of course, some New England fan is probably listening to this right now, probably chuckling because 28-3 is the score in the Super Bowl from 2 years ago with the Falcons and the Patriots before the Patriots came back. So, ironically, it's 28-3. This one, Bills are starting Derek Anderson. That's probably enough that I can say about this one. Like I said, I didn't even know the dude was in the league until last week when he was playing. But New England, they're starting to turn it up right now. You're going to be without perhaps Sony Michel. I know he practiced today. He's listed as doubtful. I don't think he'll play. They do get Gronk back. Didn't have him last week. But I just think New England is just, they're starting to get it together now. Buffalo, they still have a lot of issues and, quarterback situation. Not sure what the situation is with Shady McCoy. Are they going to trade him by Tuesday's deadline? Who knows, man? But as far as the defense out there, and with the Bills, you got Sean McDermott, the head coach, pretty good defensive coordinator. But I just think this New England offense is just it's too much to cover. So you got too many guys, different guys that can make plays for these dudes, and you got James White who's been lighting it up. Coming out of the backfield every week. He is a fantasy football player every week for me. He's been doing pretty well. But, I like New England in this one. I like them. Let me pick up a score. Is give it 31-20. So I like New England over the Bills 31-20. So as far as my picks, so we had Eagles, Chiefs, Steelers, Redskins, Lions, Buccaneers, Bears, Ravens, Raiders, 49ers, Rams, Vikings, and Patriots. So those are my picks for week 8, the remaining games of week 8. And let's see how I do, man. Then I'll be back to discuss more of it. Please stay posted because the NFL trading deadline is on Tuesday. And some of the rumblings that I'm hearing, I'm hearing a lot about, Shady McCoy might be on the move. You got, I know Patrick Peterson, he basically put out a, memo on Twitter and just basically said that he's staying in Arizona. He's focused with Arizona. So he's most likely to stay. But who knows, things can change the last minute. You never know. Guys like Shane Ray could be on the move from Denver. Like, he kind of got played out of his spot. Also look for like Janoris Jenkins from the Giants. The Giants seem to be dumping everybody. You never know. Garyon Conley from the Raiders could be also on the move as well, cornerback out there. So there's a couple corner needy teams in the league. So, some of these guys might be on the move, come by Tuesday or, Tuesday before the deadline. So let's look out for that, man. But until then, you guys have a blessed weekend, remaining part of your weekend. Enjoy football tomorrow all day, starting at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time with Philly and in Jacksonville. And you can end it off on Monday night, man. Patriots and Bills. But you got a nice treat coming in the afternoon games of the Packers and the Rams, and the nice Sunday night matchup with the Vikings and the Saints. So, like, it's a pretty good week of football ahead of us. A lot of good games tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. So, until then, man, until next time, you guys keep it loaded, keep it locked. Hubs Huddle, we out.